What's going on, y'all? BBQ Dropout here yet again. If you want the written version, head on over to bbqdropout.com. It's basically like your one-stop shop for anything barbecue related. So for this question in particular, if you're wondering like how long you should be letting a brisket rest for, just know that in my opinion and in my experience, you generally want to rest your brisket as long as possible. The reason why is because you're letting your brisket come all the way up to temp, and you don't want to pull your brisket until it reaches like 200 degrees Fahrenheit in internal temperature and when it like probes tender. So when you pull it off the smoker or out of your oven or whatever, that thing is literally 200 degrees hot. And so if you just pull it out of the smoker or whatever and start cutting into it or slicing into it, it's just going to completely dry out and evaporate. All those moisture, like all that moisture is going to just kind of disappear, even if you pulled it off at the right time or internal temperature. So in terms of like how long you should be letting it sit out for or rest, I like to use just like the general guesstimate of about like 3 to 6 hours. And I know that that sounds kind of like crazy and like kind of like a long time, but you just have to trust me on this one, because I've smoked like hundreds of briskets and it didn't really dawn on me until I just happened to leave it in like the oven resting for like 12 plus hours, and it came out like super juicy. And like ever since then I've started doing that, and then the more and more I rest it, even if it's for like 3 to 6 hours give or take, the brisket always comes out a lot better than a brisket that gets pulled off at the right internal temp but gets cut into way too soon. And so it doesn't really matter like where you rest your brisket. You can put it in the oven, on the counter. Heck, you could probably just leave it in the smoker or whatever, or if you put it like in a cooler. But on average, you should expect to rest your brisket for about 3 to 6 hours. And in particular, and more specifically, what you want to do is stick your thermometer in there, and wherever you had it like to cook to begin with, leave it in there, and then you'll slowly start to notice that the internal temperature is going down to like 165 or whatever. And I'd say like it should probably take at least a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, for it to come all the way down to about 165. And then from there you can either put it in the fridge or slice into it, or maybe even like hold it a little bit longer if you're putting it in like a cooler or like in a warming oven, for example. And so to recap, always just make sure to like rest your brisket. It's gonna dry out on you if you cut into it too quick. It's just a matter of fact. You may not like that, but that's just a matter of fact. So pull it off at the right internal temp, let it rest for like a couple of hours at least, and then obviously you want to monitor the internal temp, and don't slice into it until it hits around like the 165 degree Fahrenheit range. And then once that happens, then feel free to cut into that bad boy. Anyways, hope y'all thought that was helpful, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.